So just because the Corvette is down doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna stop making changes to Old Faithful right here. So the next step in our progress is actually gonna be part 2 to a video I did a while back, which was upgrading my interior. Let's hop into it and see what we're talking about. So the last time we worked on this car in the interior was a little bit more for aesthetics, right? We replaced the dash because the dash that was in here was absolutely destroyed based on that old 3LZ leather filling area, kind of where it just kind of starts to bubble up. And we changed to the Alcantara steering wheel, which helped with some grip, and it was a little bit of a different ergonomic feeling that we liked. But I still have these very comfortable couches as seats. And the problem is when I'm out on track, I look like I'm riding a motorcycle. I'm slinging and I'm sliding. My legs and my hips come out of the racetrack super sore because for the most part, I'm using my body, my lower range of my body, to actually stabilize me in the car while I'm actually out on track. So that takes my mind and my focus away from the actual driving portion of it and actually focusing on the feel of the vehicle versus, you know, I'm focused on just kind of keeping myself planted as I move around in the vehicle. So we got a solution for that. We're gonna be swapping these two seats out today for some Sparco QRT-Cs. So the beauty of my car being pretty much a 3,000 pound yard ornament is that I can do things like that, put my seat up on my roof. It is covered, so it's not gonna damage anything. But there is that QRT seat we were just talking about, and the other one is thrown somewhere back there where all the rest of the parts are, which we'll grab to go ahead and install them. Now, when I started shopping for the seats and looking around, I knew that I needed a seat. I can't keep driving on the track with these seats. Like I said, I come out really just, you will cut to some footage, you can see me moving around and I'm kind of like dancing around. I needed something to keep me in place so I could just focus on what the vehicle is doing and what I'm doing as a driver. And the factory seats, though, they're very comfortable, and they do have a little bit of bolstering support, very, very minimal. They're just not well suited for track purposes. So I went and jumped on these. You do have a couple options when you're looking at seats. You can go to like the more budget-friendly approach, was like a Corbel or like a Brahms seat, or you know, you could start layering into the Sparco realm and the Recaros and those guys. Sparco has a wide range. They have the Sprint that only costs about 400 bucks, and that one is a decent seat. And then you have the Evos, the QRTs, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to go too into depth as to what the difference is between all the seats are. What I can say is the difference between the budget-friendly seats and the Sparcos and the Recaros of the world is that FIA rating. The Corbos and the Sparcos, I mean the Corbos, the Brahms, and those few other smaller brands, they don't necessarily offer an FIA rating. Now, you don't need FIA rating to do what I do, which is open track days, HPDE. You don't need that. But it does add for the opportunity that if you do get to that level of competitiveness where you are doing some more sanction events, some more open wheel type of situation, you're gonna need one and you're gonna have to pass that. And two, an FIA rated seat means that it's gone through a rigorous testing to ensure its safety in the event of an accident. So just like a car gets a crash rating, these seats have to go through a certain process to get rated and for the equivalence of what an accident would be. So it is that extra peace of mind when you do have a seat of that caliber in your car. I went with a QRT-C, which is their carbon fiber line. This seat, you can get the standard line, you can get the QRT, the Evos, and then they jump up to the QRT-C, QRT-R, and a couple others. The QRT-C is fully carbon fiber, like I was just saying. It's the lightest of the seats that they offer. So it's just about 12 pounds with the padding inside. Without padding, it's only 9 pounds. Very light shell. It's gonna be super light in comparison to the seats that are in the car now, which are, I gotta look up the weight, but I'll put it somewhere in the video, but I'm sure they're a lot more heavy than these Sparco ones. The Evos and those other ones are, I think, closer to like 17 to 20 pounds. They're still much lighter than your factory seat, but they're not as light as the carbon fiber one. I'm not really looking for weight yet. I'm not looking to shed weight off the car. I'm not anywhere near fast enough as a driver to really worry about the weight of my car. But I got a good deal and an opportunity to put these in the car, and I took it. So we're gonna get these installed, get these old clunky seats out the car, and drop in and see what they look like. We won't be able to drive it because there is no motor. Maybe I can convince some of my subscribers to come help me push it around and we can test the seats that way. But let's get into actually tearing this thing apart. I bar in here to kind of help. There's only 4 screws to pretty much any seat. I don't know many seats that have more than 4 screws. 2 up here, and there's obviously going to be 2 in the lower back. There are some harnesses under this seat that you have to be careful with when you're moving. You don't want to just pull the seat out, rip them out. So make sure as you're lifting the seat up, you can kind of get back there, get under it, and do that. Take advantage of while the seat's out and vacuum this thing out, and we should be good. I'm going to pop this off, start getting those 4 screws loose, pull this main seat out, and then we'll go look at the bracket because these seats obviously don't come with brackets. So I have the AMT Ultra Low Mounts for the car that I bought off of a buddy that wasn't using them. So you do have to configure those, you do have to align them. There's a bit more work than just putting in a factory seat that can adjust electronically and so on and so forth. But let's just get hopped into this process and get it started. One unique situation that you might not run into more than likely is needing to access the back bolts of your seat require the car to have electricity so you can slide the sliders forward. My battery's been disconnected since we pulled the motor out so it doesn't draw. And I promised myself that I would keep it on the tender, which as you can see is mounted right here to my wall. Never plugged it in. So I'm gonna try to jump it with my Naco and see if I could just get a little bit of juice just to move the seat forward. And not really mess with anything else, and let's see if this works. Let's see if this will give me the juice I need. As you can see, the battery is severely dead. It's gonna go crazy now, but we're getting charged. See if we can get this slider forward. Man, I was getting some action, now I got none. Might have to give the battery some time to charge and come back to this because, oh, it's starting to respond now. Very slowly. So the seat moved forward just enough where I can get a swivel socket in here. Those harnesses I'm talking about, basically you have this one and you have this one. Just be careful when you remove those. You don't want to damage them at any point. So gonna go ahead and disconnect those, and then the seat should come out without an issue. Looks like there's actually a third harness. I don't know if it's to the airbags or to the heated seats, but someone has tie wrapped it. All right, she is out. 75,000 miles later, she's obviously going to look pretty dirty. So we're going to go ahead and clean this area up before we even bother with installing the seat mount. So let's get to vacuuming, clean this area out, and then start working on the seat mounts. Aftermarket bucket seats, you're gonna need a seat mount. There's plenty of vendors that sell seat mounts. I believe Sparco has their own. There's a couple other brands that have it. But one that's well known in the vet space is gonna be the AMT Ultra Low Mount. So it's designed to sit very low. A lot of taller guys, not someone like me, is gonna have issues a lot of times with the factory seat, and even sometimes the buckets where their helmet is very close to the ceiling of the car. I already, with the factory seat, because my seats have the added cushion to it, it's already pretty close. I don't see an issue with this, but you know, these are one of the best, highly recommended brackets on the market. It's already pre-assembled because I bought it off a buddy of mine. So naturally this here we won't use, which is the center portion. Right, this is for when you're running an actual harness. Like I said, we're running the factory harness at this moment. So we just have to align the seat to these side brackets, bolt them to that, and then start adjusting. These are fixed brackets, so it takes a lot of back and forth to find that position where you want it. You don't have the luxury of getting in your car and adjusting your seat position once you're in it. You've got to set it, and it stays there until the next time you decide to take this thing apart and do it all over again. So it's important that you take your time to set up the seat how you want it, because it's going to be in that fixed position. The passenger side is not that big of a deal. I'm just going to put it all the way to its furthest back so it can support someone shorter, but also someone much taller, if they want to ride along with me. But for the driver's seat, it is imperative that I set it exactly to how I feel. I wish the car would be driving so that I could just take it for a spin and kind of get a feel for it, but we'll mock it, put it in place, and then we will worry about that once the car's driving. Thing I forgot to mention for you guys that are doing this lower bracket here is for the back of the seat. This taller bracket here is for the front of the seat. This section here with the opening that looks like a slider, that's the front of your seat rail. This is the rear seat rail. This allows for the adjustment and you know, to kind of incline it and stuff like that. If you slide it forward and back, it'll kind of give you some of that adjustability there. So gonna start mocking the seat. I cleaned up some of my my workbench here and see if we can line it up and do the first test fit. Get the way that it was configured when I got it. It's a little too snug. The seat doesn't fit. So they might have had a slimmer profile seat in here. The QRT-C is the equivalent of an Evo L, so a large type seat. You basically have, I mean, I guess I can just loosen one side. You basically have, you know, you can get as small as a small seat, which I believe is probably like a 30 to 32 inch waist. And you have the luxury of getting all the way up to an XL, which is up to like a 38 inch waist. I have a large, which I believe supports up to a 36 inch waist. Now I'm only a 30-31, but I like the flexibility of, you know, if anyone else larger in size wants to ride, they can. So I'm gonna leave them loose so that I can mock the seat in it, because I don't know what size it's gonna like. Now I was gonna remove, oh, got it backwards. Now I was gonna remove the center harness, or the crotch harness, or whatever it's called, but I'm gonna leave it. It's not gonna interrupt the seat, and just kind of leave it in place for now. And regardless, whenever I get harnesses, I gotta take the seat out anyways to set that up. So at this point, it's not a big deal if it's in there or not. Okay. Seems like whoever was using it was a little bit larger than I'm going to possibly use it at. I'll probably have the slider closer up here. I do like being up on the wheel and up on the thing, and I'm only about 5'8", so I am going to have to adjust that a little bit. Right now I'm just kind of mocking the seat into place so the brackets stop moving around. And then we'll put it in for that first time and kind of see how it all feels. Let's go one down, actually. Let's keep it there. For some reason it's not aligning. So we mocked up the first 4 set of screws. I actually got to go to the hardware store and pick up screws. I don't have basically the seat's hardware. I just got 2 mock-up screws on this. I only had 2 to put on that side. I don't want to run what I put in there. So I got to go to a hardware store to kind of do that. But I got enough just to kind of sit in there and kind of see how it goes. I do have the setup. These are what you're gonna kind of use to create the mounting, the adapting for the new seat mount. You do got to do some shimming and stuff like that for it. But let's go ahead and try it out. Working in here, you basically got to shim the floor because if not, these adapters are going to kind of bottom out, I guess, or not reach the bottom before the screw ends. So I'm starting with 2 washers, and then you're just kind of turning it, and then boom, see, I'm already hitting. So we're trying 3 washers. I believe that was the number that I saw other guys run. Actually, that's not the case. It keeps spinning. All right, so we got 3 there just in case. I love dropping things on the car on purpose. All right. Yeah, seat 2 on some spots barely grabs, and then the others, it hits the washer. Let's bring the chair. It is truly beautiful just how light these seats are. All right. So, okay. Now it's lining up. This harness is bothering the seat. Not a whole lot of space to work there, harness buddies. All right, so I see what they're talking about. Since the seat kind of sits a bit lopsided, got to figure out how to get down there and adjust for it. But man, it looks good. I'm just gonna sit in it for shits and giggles. Carbon fiber absolutely looks amazing. Oh, gotta get used to this for sure. All right, so right now I'm way too far. As you can see here, this is where I stop, right? Is steering, my hands need to be able to rest. My wrists need to basically rest over the steering wheel. And right now, I'm leaning forward to do so. So I gotta move this seat quite a bit to get it to adjust. But like I said, I still need to go get the screws and stuff. So we're gonna take a pause here, go to Home Depot, pick up some tools, pick up some bolts, and get this going. But I might need to go a little taller. I'm a short guy, and right now I'm looking over my dash. So I gotta figure out, I gotta raise the placement on it because, yeah, I'll be driving like this right now if I start driving, and that's not a good idea. We had a chance where we went to the hardware store to pick up the bolts for the actual seats here. I had an opportunity to review the video again, the AMT video, and I stand corrected. The stud adapter that goes to the base where your standard seat mounts are, your seat studs basically, it's max 2 washers, 1 minimum, and that's just to make sure that if you tighten it too much, you don't damage the actual floorboard. So 1 minimum, if you don't have rug, is probably what you're going to work with, but I do still have carpet in my car. So we're going to set it up with 2 and kind of see how it seats. Another unique thing that I screwed up on, just being overly eager to kind of get this set up, is the way they describe it in the video is to only mount the front of this of the brackets. That way you have the adjustabilities here, this openness on the rails, and you can go back to, once you put it in the car, you can quickly adjust it and then just adapt these into the right position. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna loosen these. I am already in the full forward position for this slider, and I have to jump over to this slider to kind of get my short legs to kind of fit comfortable. So I'm gonna jump this over to this side, do it on that side as well, bolt the front of the seat back in, and go from there. The seat was a little low. When I sat in it, I couldn't really see well over the dash. So I'm gonna see what I gotta do to increase the height of the rear of the seat to kind of help alleviate that concern. I've put this on the front slider. So now I have the adjustability of the front to be able to slide the seat forward and back, put a bolt on the front of the seat, none on the back yet, so I can adjust where I want the height, and then obviously nothing plugged in here. So it's not connected to the back of the seat rail. That way I can get the seat position depth from the pedals and the steering wheel, and then focus on height after, which I assume presumably is going to be adjusted from the rear. I'm at the highest point there, and there really isn't a whole lot of adjustability in the back either. So I might just have to shim the seat a little bit, the seat brackets, to kind of make them a little bit taller. So I'm going back down to the 2 washer, pretty much maximum that AMT recommends. I had 3 in here. And then I'm going to use that 1 additional washer now up top to raise the seat mounts. Actually, I only had 1 on that one. Raise the seat mount a bit because clearly I'm not tall enough for this big boy seat. So got those in there. I'm just hand tightening everything. Once you get everything into place, then you can worry about really securing it. But there's a lot of adjustment that goes into setting up your seat. So don't be worried about tightening everything right away. Just kind of get everything fitted first and then do that, because if not, you're going to be working a lot more. Moving the centerpiece with the harnesses, because it's fighting the chair too much, and the reality is that it's not relevant right now for me. I'll cross that bridge once I get harnesses. I think I found somewhat of a position here. I'm just gonna slightly tighten the bolts so they don't have so much play. Plus they're also banging into my trunk release here. Sorry, my door release. This isn't a show car, but I'm not trying to beat it up on purpose. Now, I do wish my clutch actually worked, because I do like to feel for the clutch so I can determine where my position is best. But we're going to work with what we got. We don't have a clutch right now. I would say we're getting there. Honestly, I might commit to right here. It's insane the amount of space I have behind the seat now. I just need to be taller. I either need to grow or I need to make this AMT bracket a little bit taller, because I am beneath. My eye line is literally this Alcantara steering wheel right now. And though it is a beautiful steering wheel, I love to see the road. So, got to work on the height position, but I do feel like I'm right on the money here. I could probably go another inch or so, because I am a little extended on the arms, but I can probably get away with this placement to start, and then adjust once the car is running and I can actually drive it and feel it. So let's lock in. I'm going to lock in the front position here and then focus on height, because yeah, either I got to eat my green beans or something, but I can't see over the steering wheel right now. Oh, I gotta get used to getting out of these things. So here we have it. Seat number one is pretty much mocked into place. You can kind of see my height now, where you can see the gap between these two. You naturally don't see it, especially like in my car, which is either a 2LZ or a 3LZ, where it's got memory seats. So basically every time I get out of the car, it backs all the way up. And then once I start it, it pulls into my pre-configured. This is a fixed mount, so this is going to be here this whole time. Now I got a little storage, probably for my backpack and my cameras behind me if I'm doing any kind of cruise. Now, let's move over here to the seatbelt buckle. Let me take you off of my tripod for a second. So my goal is to not keep these seats, obviously. So I'm going to sell these seats. And I don't want to go ahead and remove this. I want the seat to be functional for whoever's going to use it. So I'm going to buy some new seatbelt buckles and put those into place. So I'll leave these on here. But if you were going to remove them, it's this Loctite bolt right here, which is a pain in the rear to remove. And it still has this shaft and everything combined. So I'm just going to buy an aftermarket one. And I may have to purchase the VetWorks harness that connects down here so I don't throw off the whole seatbelt alarm or chime while I'm driving. I won't know any of these things until I actually get this car running. But so for right now, I'm going to order the buckles. I'll still use the factory slotted here, slide it through here, and then mount it right here. And I'll order the aftermarket buckles, put them on both sides. For right now, we're going to go ahead and remove the other side. You can't really see anything, it's very dark. But I'll remove the passenger seat now, get that one in place, and wrap this project up. Ooh, bright. And we'll get this project wrapped up. So let's hop to the other side, get that seat out, and put these other ones up on Marketplace. Before I jump to the other side of the car, I figured I'd give you a quick little rundown of my seat position right now. So hands are basically flat resting over my wrist right over the steering wheel here. I am extremely on the pedals, probably a little bit more than I like to be. On the normal driving, it wouldn't be ideal because my knees, if they're floating over the brakes, are gonna be really high up. So I still gotta find some adjustments. And I do feel, so my eye line is right here. It's just barely over the dash and steering wheel. It might just be something I need to adjust to. I did shim it a little bit, adding some more washers, but I don't wanna add too many and then the seat be compromised in its safety ability. So gotta toy with that, but until I get to drive it and really feel the clutch out and stuff, it's really tough to say for sure. Might just straighten it out so it's not so reclined. I do like a natural recline position, but if I need to straighten it out a little bit to get a little bit better visibility, then I will. But this is so far the placement that I'm kind of going with without being able to drive it and actually test it. There you have it, guys. Seats installed on both sides. Now the passenger seat is in a fixed position, not really worried about its distance and stuff like that. There's gonna be some minor adjustments made to that one because I am missing some of the bolts. And obviously I gotta buy the seatbelt latches. I can't think of the name right now, but the actual plug for the seatbelts for both sides. So I gotta get those in so I can finish the standard harnesses, and we'll do that in a later video, kind of in between whatever else I'm working on. There's a lot of cool things coming. We still got about 4 to 6 weeks before the motor gets back. So in the meantime, we got a lot of things that we're gonna do in preparation while the motor's out to get this car dialed and ready to go back to Sebring. So make sure if you've watched this far to like, subscribe, drop a comment below on any kind of seat techniques or anything you recommend based on what you saw in this video and that I can improve on. I have it set to a certain set right now, but once I get to drive the car, I'll get a better feel for what I'm working with, and I'll make some additional adjustments at that point. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.